Over the last decade, there's been a shift away from interacting with interfaces using the ifconfig tool. The ifconfig tool has been replaced by the IP command, which has greater functionality and simplicity. In this demonstration, I'll show you a few ways you can interact with the Linux system using IP, and even show some of the corollary ifconfig commands. To start, let's look at how the interfaces on the system are configured. Using the IP address show command, I can see the two interfaces used by the system, the loopback device labeled LO and the Ethernet device labeled ENP1S0. The system uses the loopback device to communicate with itself. It isn't a physical device, it's virtual. We won't discuss it further. The other device is an actual device. Its name is a descriptor telling us something about the physical location. It is an Ethernet device, EN. It is on the bus number labeled P1, and it is in slot number 0, the first slot since it starts counting with 0, not 1. I'll use the old ifconfig command to compare how it displays interface information. Let's change the IP command to focus on just the ENP1S0 interface by typing IPAS ENP1S0. I've used shorthand options to make it simpler and faster to type. The A equals address or adder, and the S equals show. I'll also use the ifconfig ENP1S0 command for comparison. In the output for the IP command, we can see some of the settings, such as the IP address and network mask insider notation /24. The MAC address is shown next to the words link/ether. Also included is the word dynamic, which specifies that this IP address was assigned by a DHCP or bootp server. The IPv6 address is also listed next to the string inet6. How does this information compare to what the old ifconfig command gave us? We see the IP address and the full net mask. We also see the IPv6 address and some other interface settings. We don't see anything to tell us whether the address was dynamically or statically assigned. So, if you're comfortable with ifconfig, why switch to the IP command? The answer is that the Linux networking stack has changed significantly since the ifconfig command originated. Those changes are frequently blind spots for ifconfig. When something is configured by the new way of managing networking, the ifconfig command might not see it. As an example, if you assign a second IP address to an interface, the ifconfig command might not recognize it. That's a simple example, but there are many more with varying levels of complexity. Let's temporarily add an IP address to a network interface by typing sudo ipa add 192.168.122.201/24 dev enp1s0. Now let's see how the interface looks by typing IPAS enp1s0. There's the extra address. I can also use the IP command to look at the connection or link to a network. Using the IP link command, I can tell an interface to start or stop receiving network traffic by typing IP link show, sudo IP link set enp1s0 down, and IP link set enp1s0 up. These show us the status, take the interface down, or put the interface back up. Note that the last two commands require root privileges, so the sudo command was used. I can also view and change routing with the IP command using iproute or just IPR. This will list the routes on this system with the default route or gateway shown with the device and how the route was configured. This default route was set by DHCP. Let's add a new route with the IP command sudo iproute add 192.168.222.0/24. Let's see how that looks. IPR. There's our new entry. The IP command has much more to offer. You can create a network bridge with the IP command or an Ethernet bond with participating interfaces and mode. You can create, configure, and delete VLANs. And you can manage the ARP table or the neighbor table. That's it for this demo. There are many uses for the IP command when you're working with networking on a Linux system. An administrator can assign an IP address, change the network mask, add additional IP addresses, modify the route, create a VLAN, bridge or bond, and manage many other functions with this command. Practice and experience will help you become comfortable and capable using it.